chosen one. Stop for a moment and listen. This isn't coincidence, it's divine timing. You can feel it in the air, can't you? The atmosphere has shifted. The same things you once warned about, the same truths you whispered when no one believed you, are now standing in plain sight. There was a time when your voice sounded strange to others, when every word you spoke felt like a seed tossed into barren ground. They laughed. They said, "You're imagining things," but you weren't. You were seeing through the veil before anyone else could. You were never delusional, you were early. And now the veil is lifting. The very events you sensed are manifesting one after another. Conversations have changed. People who once doubted are now silent, unsure, watching from a distance. You're beginning to see that the silence you endured wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, quiet, unassuming, living in a forgotten town. God gave him a word about a shift that would shake the foundations of his city. He shared it, trembling but obedient. They mocked him, told him he was overreacting. Still, he prayed. He waited. Then, slowly, every detail unfolded just as he said. When they finally came to him, no longer proud, but broken, he didn't boast. He welcomed them and said, "I never spoke to prove I was right. I spoke so you would be ready." And so, that is the same anointing resting on you. The season of misunderstanding is over. Now begins the season of manifestation. The words you carried like a burden are transforming into living evidence. Heaven is confirming what you saw in private. The things that once made you feel isolated are the very things that now distinguish you. The Word of God declares in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 5, "The mountains quake before him. The hills melt away. The earth trembles at his presence. The world and all within." Feel that? The trembling is not fear, it's alignment. Heaven and earth are adjusting to make room for what you carry. The pressure you felt lately is not punishment. It's the earth recognizing your spiritual weight. You were made to walk in atmospheres that others can't survive in. Think of yourself as a lighthouse on a stormy cliff. The waves crash. The wind screams. Yet your light doesn't flicker. The darkness isn't your enemy. It's the backdrop that reveals your glow. You were built for the storm. You were wired for revelation. And now, people are noticing. They can't quite explain it. But something about you feels prophetic. There's a gravity in your silence, a calm in your presence. You no longer need to convince anyone. Your life itself is speaking. But don't let vindication turn into vanity. Remember, the purpose of revelation is restoration. The same ones who doubted you will soon seek your wisdom. When they come, open your heart. You are not here to gloat. You are here to guide. The mark of a true chosen one is mercy, not pride. Take a deep breath. Feel the shift around you and within you. This is the moment where prophecy becomes reality. The unseen becomes visible. You are walking into the chapter your tears once wrote. If this message resonates within your spirit, take a quiet moment and share what you feel, led to perhaps a line of gratitude or a simple, "I see it unfolding." Let it be your personal act of agreement with heaven's timing. And if your spirit bears witness, like, share, or subscribe, not out of routine, but as a sign that you are standing with this awakening. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on schedule. Stay still for a moment longer. Chosen one, the shaking you feel around you is not meant to destroy, it's meant to separate. It is drawing a line between what was built by fear and what was built by faith. Do not panic when old structures collapse. The fall of what is false always makes room for what is true. In the days ahead, more eyes will turn toward you. Some will come curious, others broken, and a few will come just to test your peace. Let your stillness answer them. Let the fruit of your endurance speak louder than explanations. You carry something. No debate can disprove evidence of survival. Light born from the night. So lift your head. The trembling has passed its peak. The dawn is forming. What you once foresaw in secret now begins to rise in plain sight. The world is finally seeing what heaven already knew about you. Nahum 1-5. Comment 111 if you feel the trembling of his presence right now. You begin to notice how every sign you once discerned in your spirit is unfolding with precision. It feels strange at first, the world finally echoing what heaven told you long ago. Event. Each revelation, each sudden exposure seems to move in rhythm with the very words you once carried quietly in your heart. There was a night, not too long ago, when you stood by your window, staring at the skyline, whispering to God. Was it really you, or was it just my imagination? That question lingered for years, shaping your prayers and testing your faith. But now, with every new day, you see that those whispers were never madness. They were alignment. The pieces are falling into place exactly as they were shown. It's as if heaven has begun painting the same picture in public that you once saw in private. Every color, every shadow, every detail reveals that nothing was random. The timing was deliberate. The silence was strategic. And even the heartbreak was part of the orchestration. You were never abandoned in the waiting. You were being trusted with foresight. Think of a seed buried deep beneath the ground. For months it seems lifeless, forgotten under layers of soil. Yet beneath the surface, roots are forming, unseen but unstoppable. When the first sprout breaks through, people marvel at how sudden it looks, but you know it wasn't sudden. The growth happened in secret first. That's how prophecy works. It matures underground before it manifests in light. You carried truth before it had shape. That's why it was heavy. That's why it hurt. To see the unseen before its time is both gift and burden. The world wasn't ready to understand it then. But now the appointed season has arrived. The prophet once wrote in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 6, "This is what the Lord Almighty says, in a little while, I will shake the heavens and the earth again." This is that little while. The shaking you see is not chaos, it is confirmation. God is rearranging foundations so that what is unshakable will remain. You, who endured the tremors long before others noticed them, now stand as a witness to divine timing. And yet, even as events unfold exactly as foretold, your heart feels a strange mix of awe and ache. You remember the cost of carrying revelation, the loneliness, the silence, the nights you questioned your sanity. You remember when obedience looked like failure, but now you see that heaven never forgets an obedient heart. You begin to see patterns in everything, conversations aligning like puzzle pieces, opportunities opening that were once locked, dreams replaying with new clarity. It's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Every line of the vision you received is being written into reality. Sometimes you still wish it didn't have to hurt this much. To watch prophecy unfold means watching old systems fall. People change. Truth surface. Yet, deep down, you know the shaking is mercy in motion. It's not destruction, it's purification. The world is being reset so that truth can breathe again. A new awareness grows inside you. You realize that prophecy is not about predicting outcomes, it's about preparing hearts. What you saw was never just for you. It was a message, a map for those who would follow after. Like the watchman on a high tower, you warned of what was coming. And now the dawn is rising, exactly as you described. You feel no need to shout, no urge to say, "I told you so." Your spirit is quiet, peaceful, because validation was never the goal. Obedience was. As you watch the signs align, you whisper a small thank you, not just for being proven right, but for being preserved through the waiting. You survived misunderstanding. You survived delay. And now, as light pours over what once felt hidden, you understand that it was never about being seen. It was about being steady. The unfolding will continue. More signs will appear. And with each one, a deeper stillness will settle in your spirit. You are not shocked anymore. You are anchored. What was once prophecy is now history being written by the hand of God, line by line, through time itself. And in that knowing, you find peace, not the fragile peace of circumstances, but the deep peace of purpose fulfilled. The air feels different now, charged, alive, almost electric. You can sense heaven breathing through every headline, every moment of awakening. Nothing is random anymore. Everything hums with divine rhythm. This is what revelation looks like when it takes form. It doesn't shout. It simply stands undeniable, quietly rewriting everything you once feared would never come true. They looked at you once and saw nothing special, just another dreamer, just another voice lost in the noise. But now, chosen one, they are beginning to remember what you said. The words you released in trembling faith have started to echo through the corridors of their own experiences. Reality has begun to bow to the truth you carried. You don't have to say anything anymore. God Himself is speaking through the unfolding. Every delay, every rejection, every misunderstanding was a seed that had to die before it could bear fruit. You once felt buried, but now you understand. You were planted. There was a time when the silence felt endless. People walked away. Doors closed. Your heart questioned if any of it mattered. You wondered, did I mishear God? But He was working even then, forming endurance, sculpting wisdom, teaching you to stand when applause was gone. The pain was not wasted. It was the currency of your anointing. Imagine gold inside a furnace. The fire does not destroy it, it purifies it. That was you. Every trial burned away, doubt and pride, until only truth remained. Now you stand like refined metal shining, unbent, tested. Those who once dismissed you are beginning to see that the same fire they mocked has become your glory. It is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." You carried that test quietly, hidden beneath an ordinary life. You kept smiling when your heart was breaking, kept forgiving when bitterness tried to settle. and heaven watched every tear. Not one fell unnoticed. There's a moment in every story where the narrative turns, where the victim becomes the victor. You are standing in that turn now. The shift has begun. Those who misjudged you are beginning to see that you weren't strange, you were strategic. You weren't lost, you were led. Every season of confusion was a lesson in disguise. Picture this, a single candle in a vast cathedral. One spark seems small, almost irrelevant, until the darkness deepens and suddenly that faint light commands the entire room. That's you. The darker it gets, the more visible your purpose becomes. Don't rush to explain yourself. Let the evidence speak. The truth doesn't need a press conference. It just needs time. You are entering the chapter where time itself will testify for you. The ones who doubted will start to replay your old words. They will remember your warnings, your compassion, your refusal to retaliate. Slowly, they will see that what you carried was never arrogance. It was revelation wrapped in patience. Be gentle with them, for just as you once waited for God's timing, now they are waiting for understanding. Grace will be your language. Mercy will be your crown. And when they finally come, some to apologize, others simply to listen, you will smile. Because vindication doesn't roar. It whispers. Now they see. No, before you move on, take a breath and look back, not to dwell on pain, but to acknowledge the journey. Every scar has become scripture, written on your soul. You've lived through things that could have broken you. Yet here you are stronger, clearer, unshaken. This is the power of perseverance. This is the beauty of prophecy fulfilled. Now, if this word resonates with you, type, "It's happening" below. Not as repetition, not as ritual, but as a declaration of awareness. It's your way of saying, I recognize this moment. I see the promise unfolding before my eyes. All this because you do see it, don't you? The alignment, the recognition, the unveiling. The very things you once prophesied are walking into reality, and no one, not fear, not doubt, not time can stop what heaven has already written. When you type, "It's happening," you're not just joining a trend, you're activating agreement. Those two words are not small, they are spiritual acknowledgement. They say, I see what God is doing, and I choose to align with it. When you speak it, heaven records it as faith made visible. This isn't superstition, it's participation. Every prophetic word requires response. Just as the prophet declared the rain, and Elijah's servant confirmed it by sight, your declaration becomes the echo that brings manifestation closer. So when you write it, do it with awareness. Whisper it if you must. Let it rise from conviction, not convenience. Let it be your way of saying, I'm awake now. I see it. I receive it. And as you do, watch the unseen world move in rhythm with your words. Quiet, precise, unstoppable. You can almost feel it, the atmosphere itself responding to divine order. Things that once seemed unchangeable are beginning to shift. Truth is surfacing where deceit once reigned, and eyes that were blind to it are slowly opening. The prophecies you carried in silence are now walking through the streets of reality. You stand still, watching as the pieces rearrange exactly as they were shown to you long ago. Every headline, every whispered conversation, every sudden revelation feels strangely familiar. This is not surprise. It's recognition. You are seeing the manifestation of what you once saw in prayer. But even as the signs unfold, there's a quiet ache within you, because prophecy is rarely gentle. To witness what you foretold means watching the world shed its illusions. The light you asked for comes, but it also exposes what was hidden. It demands courage to see clearly and still remain compassionate. There's an old truth you're beginning to understand. Revelation and responsibility arrive together. To know what others don't means to carry what others can't. God never gave you foresight for control. He gave it for intercession. You were never meant to gloat over what you knew. You were meant to guide others through what they couldn't yet see. Think of a shepherd walking through the night with a lantern. The light doesn't exist to make him superior. It exists to help the flock move safely through darkness. That is you now. You hold light, not as a symbol of status, but as a tool of service. You remember when you begged God for understanding. Show me what's really happening. You prayed, and when He did, you wished for a moment that you hadn't asked. Seeing truth is costly. It isolates you from comfort, but it anchors you to purpose. The writings remind us in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 3, "Let us acknowledge the Lord. Let us press on to know Him. As surely as the sun rises, He will appear. He will come to us like the winter rains, like the spring rains that water the earth." Oh, that verse lingers in your mind. The assurance that His appearing is as certain as dawn steadies your soul. The rains always come in their season, and so does clarity. What you are witnessing is not chaos, it's renewal. The world is being watered by truth again. You watch as hearts soften. People who once mocked spiritual things are beginning to ask quiet questions. They don't come to you publicly, they message you privately, humbly asking, "How did you know?" And you smile, not with pride, but with compassion, because it was never about knowing, it was about listening. The unseen realm speaks softly, always to those who will stay still long enough to hear. That's why you were chosen, not because you were perfect, but because you were patient. Now, as things accelerate, you feel a deeper peace settling over you. You don't rush to interpret every event. You don't need to predict what comes next. You've learned that revelation flows best through surrender, not striving. It's like a river. It doesn't force its way forward. It simply follows the path carved for it. There's a strange beauty in watching prophecy become presence. It's like standing in a room where music you once only heard in dreams begins to play in real life. The melody feels ancient and new all at once. And you realize this is what obedience sounds like. You start to thank God not for being right, but for being kept. You think of how easily pride could have taken over, how quickly the desire to prove yourself could have drowned out His voice. But instead, humility guarded your heart. It kept you steady when others fell into noise and ego. The unfolding is not finished, but you are no longer anxious. You've stepped beyond the need to predict and into the peace of participation. You're not waiting for something to happen. You are part of what is happening. You are beginning to understand that every prophecy is a conversation between heaven and earth, and you are standing in the middle of it, translating light into language, revelation into rhythm. No one else has to validate it. The evidence is everywhere. The world is slowly tuning itself to the same frequency that heaven whispered to you long ago. You smile quietly, not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. The wait was worth it. The words were true. The rains have begun. The rhythm of heaven feels closer now, pulsing through every moment like a steady drumbeat. You sense it subtle, alive, indéniable. The unseen is no longer distant. It breathes beside you. Everything you once foresaw is not coming. It's here, unfolding in real time. You have felt it for a long time. The quiet collision between light and darkness is no longer distant, but close. The battle isn't abstract anymore. It moves through your daily life, shaping conversations, moments, and even thoughts. Yet within that tension lies purpose. This is the hour where your light begins to disturb the dark. You've noticed it before, the way some people seem uneasy around you. How doors close or energy shifts when you walk into a room. It wasn't rejection, it was recognition. The darkness knew who you were before you did. Every chosen one walks this path. You were born to interrupt patterns, to challenge what pretends to be truth. Your presence alone exposes shadows. You don't even have to speak. Light never needs to explain itself. It simply shines. Picture a torch held high in a cave. The darkness doesn't disappear instantly. It trembles first. That trembling is happening now. In the world and within hearts, your obedience has become a flame that cannot be ignored. Still, light requires fuel. Every time you love when it's easier to hate, forgive when it's easier to resent, or speak life when it's easier to be silent, you are feeding that flame. It's holy work, costly, but sacred. According to the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And you've poured out encouragement, faith, and prayer for others, even when you felt empty. But heaven never forgets what is poured out in love. What leaves your hand in faith always returns in fullness. This space, these words, this sound is part of that divine exchange. Every story shared here is a drop of living water meant to refresh dry hearts. Yet even rivers need a source to keep flowing. That's why when you choose to like, share, or subscribe, it isn't a small thing, it's motion, like tossing a pebble into a still lake. It sends ripples that travel far beyond what you can see. Someone, somewhere will catch hope from a word you helped carry. And if your heart ever feels led to donate, think of it not as giving to a person, but as pouring oil into the lamp. The lamp doesn't demand oil, it simply cannot burn without it. Your support becomes light for another traveler, still finding their way through fog. Each act of kindness, big or small, is part of that oil. Every like is a spark. Every share, a breeze that carries the flame. Every subscription, a promise that the light won't go out. And every donation, a drop of oil that keeps the fire alive through the night. But hear this clearly, there is no pressure, no expectation, no condition. Giving is never about obligation, it's about resonance. When something in your spirit whispers, "This is good soil," that's when giving becomes sacred. Even prayer is part of that cycle. If all you do is whisper a blessing, or forward this message, so one more weary soul can hear it, that too is generosity. The kingdom doesn't measure by size, but by sincerity. Your small act may ignite someone else's courage. Your encouragement could become the confirmation another heart was praying for. This is how light multiplies, not by control, but by connection. Think of the flame again. It doesn't burn for itself. It burns to guide, to warm, to awaken. You are one of the keepers of that flame. When you help sustain the light, you're not fueling a platform, you're fueling purpose. And God sees that every unseen gesture, every quiet prayer, every seed of support, He receives it as worship. Heaven's economy doesn't operate on numbers, it operates on heart posture. You've come through much to reach this point: loneliness, delay, misunderstanding. Yet every hardship was preparation, teaching you to hold light with humility. And now, as that same light grows brighter, God invites you to sustain what sustains others. It's not about money, it's about meaning. It's about ensuring that truth continues to travel, that healing continues to reach, that light continues to breathe. When you keep the flame alive, you become part of heaven's ongoing story of restoration. So walk on, torchbearer. Keep burning with quiet strength. Like, share, subscribe, or give only if it flows from peace. Never pressure. Know that even the smallest gesture can travel farther than you imagine, because every act of love, every drop of oil, every spark of faith together, they keep the world from going dark. And as the night deepens, your light will only grow steadier. The world doesn't need louder voices, it needs brighter flames. Keep shining. Even one small spark can rewrite the darkness completely. You can feel it now, something stirring in the atmosphere. It's subtle but strong. Like the moment before sunrise, when everything holds its breath, the remnant is awakening. Those who once drifted between faith and fear are beginning to remember who they are. And you, chosen one, are witnessing the gathering of light. You always knew there were others. Even in your solitude, you sensed them, people who felt the same pull, who saw through illusion, who carried silent fire in their bones. For years, you walked alone, thinking maybe you were mistaken. But now, scattered lights are beginning to answer each other across the world. A quiet network of faith is forming, glowing like constellations in a dark sky. This is not coincidence, it's divine coordination. Heaven has been weaving invisible threads between hearts who carry similar callings. You may never meet them face to face, yet your spirits recognize one another instantly. It's as if your prayers harmonize across distance, tuning the air with purpose. You are not a lone spark anymore. You are part of a constellation, as written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 19. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. That's what's happening now. The revealing 8, not through fame or recognition, but through quiet obedience. Creation itself has been groaning for the sons and daughters of light to rise. And finally, they are stepping forward. The remnant does not march loudly. It moves with stillness. It doesn't need applause. It seeks alignment. These are people who have been refined by fire, stripped of pride, and strengthened by waiting. Each one carries a unique light that fits into a greater design. You may notice strange alignments in your days lately, new connections that feel instantly familiar, conversations that confirm what God whispered to you in prayer. These are not random, they are divine intersections. The Spirit is gathering His people like pieces of a sacred mosaic. It's happening quietly, in homes, in cities, in hidden corners of the earth. Ordinary people, marked by extraordinary grace. are realizing that what once isolated them was actually an invitation to prepare. You've seen them voices rising online with purity instead of pride, hearts speaking with gentleness instead of noise. They are not trying to build platforms, they are trying to build altars. And you are one of them. When the remnant awakens, the spiritual climate shifts. You begin to see love where there used to be division, clarity where there used to be confusion. You sense courage stirring in those who were once afraid to speak. That courage isn't rebellion, it's restoration. It's the sound of dry bones, remembering they were made to stand. The prophet Ezekiel once saw that valley. You're standing in a similar place now, not of bones, but of dormant dreams and forgotten faith. Yet the same wind that revived them then is blowing again now, and every soul that once felt too tired to rise is beginning to breathe anew. Sometimes it begins with just one small yes, a whispered prayer, a simple act of obedience. And from that spark, revival spreads like morning light quietly, yet unstoppable. This is why your endurance mattered. Your faithfulness in isolation was training for community. You were learning to carry presence, not popularity. And now, as others awaken, you'll see how your obedience connects to theirs. Creating a network heaven calls family. If you could see it from above, you'd witness threads of golden light stretching across nations, hearts connected by prayer, faces turned toward the same direction. It's breathtaking, this unity of the unseen. And so, as the remnant rises, remember, the goal was never numbers, but nearness. You are not being gathered into a movement of men, but a movement of spirit. Let your heart stay soft. Let humility be your language. Don't rush to lead, listen first. Sometimes the greatest power in an awakening is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the one who listens longest. The remnant is forming quietly, yet its presence shakes the heavens. You'll start to see confirmation everywhere, small signs that you are part of something vast, something holy. You'll know it by the peace it brings, not by the noise it makes. And if this word resonates with your spirit, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the pulse of heaven aligning with your heartbeat. Then, as an act of recognition and faith, comment the number 777 below. That number is not superstition, it's symbolism. It represents divine completion, the perfection of God's timing and His plan. By typing it, you're not performing an act of religion. You're expressing agreement with heaven's unfolding rhythm. You're saying, I see it. I'm part of it. I'm awake. The remnant has always been few, but their impact is immeasurable. Together, they will carry light into every corner where hope seemed lost. You're not standing alone anymore. Look around across time. Across continents, the family of light is rising. You can sense it in the air. Something hidden is being dragged into the light. It's not just one event, not one revelation, but a chain reaction of truth breaking through layers of deception. The world is watching what once operated in darkness crumble under the weight of divine exposure. It's the great unmasking. The very structures that mocked righteousness are collapsing. What people trusted without question is being questioned. The illusion is dissolving, and though it terrifies many, for you it confirms everything. You knew this day would come. You felt it in your spirit when the world laughed at the idea that justice would return. Now justice stands at the door, knocking loudly. You don't rejoice in their downfall, you grieve for their blindness, because revelation, though glorious, is heavy. When truth appears suddenly, it shatters both lies and comfort. You understand that exposure isn't vengeance, it's mercy giving people one last chance to turn. There was a time when you cried out, "God, when will they see?" And he was silent. Now, his silence has turned into thunder. Systems are shaking, idols are falling, and the same people who claim to control truth are being silenced by it. In the midst of it all, you stand still, calm, watchful. You don't need to speak. The unfolding itself speaks for you. Every hidden motive, every deceitful hand, every mask that once seemed real is being torn away. The truth doesn't need a defender. It only needs light, and light is everywhere now. You remember when God first warned you about this long before the evidence appeared. You saw visions of veils tearing, of false leaders losing their grip, of people awakening from long spiritual sleep. You didn't understand the timing, but you understood the weight of it. That weight is lifting now, replaced by confirmation. According to the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 13, nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. That scripture feels alive now. You see it playing out in real time. Secrets are surfacing, not just in governments or institutions, but in hearts. Motives are being revealed. The masks people wear in public no longer fit in private. There's a divine discomfort in the atmosphere, a holy restlessness calling people to choose between appearance and authenticity. You, chosen one, are not exempt from that light. The same exposure that sweeps through the world passes gently through you too, not to condemn, but to cleanse. God's light does not humiliate his people, it heals them. It removes what cannot coexist with destiny. That's why you've been feeling the refining lately. It's not punishment, it's purification. Think of light pouring into a dark room after years of being sealed shut. Dust dances in the rays, showing where the air has been stagnant. You don't curse the light for revealing it, you open the windows. That's what God is doing in you and around you. He's opening the windows. Every hidden thing, both dark and divine, is coming into view. Falsehoods are losing oxygen. Truth is breathing again. And as this unveiling continues, your role becomes clear: to remain steady while others panic. Your stability will be a refuge to those who suddenly see too much, too fast. You've walked this path before. You know how disorienting revelation can be. You know how painful it is to realize the world wasn't what you thought it was. So you'll speak softly to those awakening, telling them what God told you. Do not fear the exposure. It is the beginning of freedom. And the unmasking is not meant to destroy, it's meant to realign. What is false must fall, so that what is real can rise. You can already feel it, the first winds of renewal sweeping across the land. Some will resist it. They'll try to hide behind pride or denial. But the light has patience. It will return again and again until hearts open. That's the mercy of God. It doesn't force, it reveals. You watch quietly, heart both heavy and hopeful, because though judgment looks like shaking, it carries the sound of redemption. When the dust settles, truth will stand taller than ever. and those who remain humble will rebuild on foundations that cannot be shaken again. The masks are falling, the light is spreading, and the truth, long buried, has finally taken its rightful place among the living. You stand in the glow of revelation, neither surprised nor afraid. The veil has torn completely now, and what was hidden for generations finally breathes beneath the open sky. It begins quietly, truth cascading through headlines, whispers turning into echoes, and echoes becoming thunder. The world is standing in the middle of what you once saw in fragments. The veil that separated illusion from reality is gone now. Everything hidden is surfacing, and though the process feels chaotic, it is actually sacred order unfolding. You sense it deep within your spirit. This isn't destruction, it's divine correction. Things that were built on lies are collapsing, not because God is cruel, but because he is clearing space for what is pure to rise. Every false foundation must fall before truth can stand tall again. The unmasking isn't just happening around you, it's happening through you. You find yourself seeing people differently. Leaders you once trusted now seem hollow, and quiet souls you once overlooked now shine with quiet integrity. Heaven is shifting the spotlight, revealing where true authority has always been hiding: in humility, in honesty, in hearts that still tremble before God. There's a story unfolding behind every revelation. You can almost hear heaven narrating. See, this was never about power, it was about purity. The stage is being cleared, not for destruction, but for redemption. You think of the times you warned people about this, about systems that would crumble, voices that would be silenced, and structures that looked strong but were hollow inside. They didn't want to hear it then. But now the evidence stands undeniable, and instead of feeling proud, you feel reverence. Because what you're witnessing is not your vindication, it's God's justice clothed in mercy. As revealed in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 10, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. Those words hum like a low drumbeat beneath the world's noise. It's happening, divine evaluation, not through fire and brimstone, but through truth itself. Every mask is being weighed, every motive examined. The justice of God doesn't rush, it reveals. The shaking feels heavy, but you can sense purpose hidden within it, like a sculptor chiseling marble. The noise of impact is only proof that something beautiful is being uncovered. The breaking is not the end, it's the beginning of form. You stand as witness, and something in your heart whispers, this is what prophecy looks like when it matures. It's not loud, it's steady. It doesn't seek revenge, it seeks restoration. You see it even in small moments, the way people begin to question their own motives, the way truth slips gently into conversations, unsettling false peace. You see former skeptics asking quiet question late at night, wondering if maybe the light they once ignored was real after all. That's the grace of exposure. It doesn't just reveal the guilty, it awakens the sleeping. There's a strange beauty in this moment. The world feels fragile, but also honest. The noise has less power now. What once dazzled with illusion now feels empty. And hearts are beginning to crave something real again, something incorruptible. You find comfort in that hunger, because this is how revival begins, not with fireworks, but with awareness, not with crowds, but with conviction. God is reintroducing himself to humanity, not through spectacle, but through sincerity. As you walk through these days, you learn to see differently. What others call crisis, you call clarity. You understand that storms are heaven's way of cleaning the atmosphere. When clouds break, the air always feels lighter. The same is happening in the spirit. The heavy fog of deception is clearing, and the horizon of truth is appearing, golden and fast. And yet, even in this revelation, humility remains your anchor. You know that the same light exposing corruption also examines your own heart. It calls you to integrity, to authenticity, to gentleness. This is not a time to boast, it's a time to bow. You can almost feel heaven whispering, "Stay clean, stay soft, stay ready." There is a rhythm to this season: exposure, repentance, renewal, like the tide. It will move through every shore, touching every hidden corner. Some will resist it, but others will let it wash them clean. You stand between those waves, not as judge, but as intercessor. You pray, "God, let the light heal, not harm. Let truth restore, not destroy." And you know He hears, because His justice is never cruel, it's surgical, precise, purposeful. In time, what seems like chaos will reveal its design. The old will make way for the new. The noise will quiet. And standing among the ruins, you'll see something pure emerging, foundations made of truth, love, and unshakable faith. This is the great unmasking, not to shame, but to set free, not to end, but to begin again. And you steady, clear, unwavering were always meant to stand right here, in the middle of revelation, watching heaven make all things new. The atmosphere is shifting again, quietly but unmistakably. Power is changing hands, not first in governments, but in hearts and realms unseen. The authority of illusion is fading, and the authority of truth is rising like the slow dawn after a long night. You can feel it, the pulse of heaven moving through every system, every word, every decision. This is what you foresaw. Chosen one. You felt the tremors long before the shaking began. It's not chaos, it's reordering. For years, those who built on deceit ruled with noise, but their thrones were made of vapor. Now, substance is replacing spectacle. The humble are being elevated, and the proud are being humbled. What you're witnessing is not a random shift, it's a divine hand rearranging the pieces. Every structure that exalted manipulation is being dismantled, and every heart that stayed faithful in obscurity is being positioned. The world calls it coincidence. Heaven calls it fulfillment. You were prepared for this moment, even when it felt like preparation would never end. Every closed door, every disappointment, every misunderstanding was chiseling your soul for divine authority. The world measures power by applause, but heaven measures it by endurance. The voice of God thundered in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 21. Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, I am going to shake the heavens and the earth. That shaking is here not to destroy, but to distinguish. God is separating noise from truth, performance from purpose. Those who built on ego are trembling, and those who built on faith are standing firm. You've likely felt it already, how conversations shift around you. how new opportunities appear from nowhere, how those who once overlooked you suddenly seek your wisdom. That's not luck. That's the silent justice of God, aligning the seasons. When power shifts, it rarely comes with applause. It comes quietly. Like roots pushing through soil, real authority doesn't demand recognition. It simply takes its rightful place. That's what you're doing now, taking your place not through ambition, but through alignment. Imagine an old tree in a storm. Its branches shake, leaves scatter, yet its roots remain unmoved. When the storm ends, the same wind that tried to break it has cleared the ground for its growth. That's you. The storm exposed your strength. This is why you had to wait. Heaven was ensuring your roots reached deep enough to sustain what's now being handed to you. If you had risen earlier, the weight of visibility would have crushed you. But now, you're ready not to rule, but to serve from authority that's pure. Look around. The changing of hands is everywhere. The ones who manipulated with fear are losing influence, while the ones who walk in truth are gaining it naturally. It's not about domination. It's about restoration. God is returning leadership to those who lead with light. You can feel this transfer even in your daily life. The same spaces that once rejected you now need your voice. The same people who doubted you now quote your wisdom. It's not pride, it's prophecy fulfilled. But remember this, power is safest in the hands of those who never wanted it. That's why God chose you. Your humility became the container, strong enough to hold His authority. You've learned the rare art of ruling without boasting, of leading without forcing. As you walk into this new atmosphere, guard your heart. Don't mirror the pride of those who fell. Mirror the grace of the one who raised you. You are not here to replace the old. You're here to redeem it. Even now, heaven watches as you take your rightful seat, not a throne of gold, but a posture of service. You rise quietly, and everything around you adjusts to the frequency of truth you carry. Pause. Feel that alignment. The air feels lighter, doesn't it? That's the shift. That's heaven confirming that it's your time. If these words resonate deeply in your spirit, comment, I ascend below, not as a boast, but as a whisper of recognition, as if you're saying, I accept the mantle. I rise higher, not above others, but closer to purpose. Because this is more than a power shift. It's the dawn of divine stewardship. And you, forged in silence, have been chosen to carry it. When you type, I ascend, you're not climbing in pride, you're rising in purpose. Those two words are a declaration that you accept your divine promotion, that you choose elevation through surrender. It's not a command to heaven, it's agreement with it. You're saying, let your will unfold through me. Endless. You've carried the mantle in silence for so long that wearing it in the open almost feels unfamiliar. Yet this is what you were made for. This moment, the stepping into full purpose, is not a spotlight, but a sunrise. It doesn't blind, it reveals. You are walking into the fullness of what was always yours. Not as a reward, but as recognition. There's a sacred heaviness in this season, not a burden, but a sense of weight, the kind that tells you what you're carrying matters. The mantle isn't a trophy, it's responsibility wrapped in grace. Every waiting season, every closed door, every whispered, not yet, was a rehearsal for right now. The mantle doesn't make you better. It makes you useful. It's not about status. It's about service. Those who wear it wrongly seek to be seen. Those who wear it rightly seek to heal. As the Word of God says in the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That is the rhythm of your calling now: justice, mercy, and humility woven together like three strands of gold. You don't have to announce yourself. The atmosphere will recognize you. But mantles, like torches, must stay fueled. And that fuel is found in connection. Every time you share light, your flame grows brighter. That's why when you like, share, or subscribe, it's more than support, it's communion. You're saying, let the fire spread. Let others see what I've seen. It's like standing in a dark field, lifting your lantern high so that distant travelers can find their way home. And if your heart stirs toward deeper generosity, know this: to donate is to build a bridge of light between your life and someone else's night. The bridge doesn't demand, it invites. No one forces you to cross it. You choose to. Giving should never feel like weight. It's wind, gentle, invisible, necessary. When you give, you're not losing. You're letting your blessing breathe, like a dandelion releasing its seeds. Your generosity scatters life in directions you may never see. Think of it this way: every like is a heartbeat. Every share, a ripple across unseen waters. Every subscription, a small stone laid in a path others will follow. And every donation, a thread in the tapestry that binds light to life. You are not giving to a screen, you are giving to a story. Each act becomes part of the narrative. Heaven is writing through you. Even the simplest gesture, a kind word in the comments, a moment taken to reflect, is part of this movement. When you comment, you're not leaving text, you're leaving touch. Everything you do from love becomes eternal. That's the beauty of giving. It never ends where it starts. Like rain that falls on the mountains and later flows into rivers. Your offering will travel and return, multiplied as peace, favor, or joy. There is no pressure here. Only permission to participate in something luminous. Every act of engagement, like share, subscribe, or give, is an echo of your yes to being part of heaven's light in motion. You don't have to do everything, just what resonates, because the light doesn't need forced hands, it needs willing hearts. Look at how far you've come. Once, you questioned if your voice mattered. Now it carries weight. Not because you sought power, but because you stayed faithful when no one was watching. And like every sacred place, this light needs caretakers, not investors, but guardians, those who keep the lamps trimmed and burning, those who say, I'll help the light go a little farther. Lamb, you are one of those guardians, the oil of your faith, your attention, your compassion, it all keeps this flame alive. So, as this message settles in your heart, remember, when you support by liking, sharing, subscribing, or giving, you're not funding a message, you're feeding a miracle. Heaven entrusts you with light, and you return it with love. The result is illumination without end. And when you walk away from this moment, let your spirit stay open. The same light that moved through these words now moves through you quietly, steadily, purposefully. You have become part of the current that carries hope forward. Every small act of faith, every click, word, or whisper ripples into eternity. You may never see how far it travels, but heaven does. Keep your lamp steady. The world is brighter because you chose to shine. The air feels heavier now, as though the world itself senses what's approaching. You can feel it too, the tension between endings and beginnings. It's not fear that lingers in your chest, but awareness. The storm you once spoke of is gathering again. But this time you are not the one caught in it. You are the one standing in its calm center. This is the gathering storm. The clash between truth and deception, light and shadow, has reached a crescendo. Yet you, chosen one, have learned not to fear storms. You've walked through too many to tremble now. You understand their language. You know that when heaven stirs the winds, it's not to destroy but to reveal what cannot be shaken. Everything around you seems louder news, opinions, movements, chaos, but within you, there's stillness. It's the stillness of someone who's already been through their personal hurricane and discovered that survival births serenity. You have learned to discern between the thunder of fear and the whisper of God. As the storm gathers, people panic. They reach for control, for certainty, for something to hold on to. But you know better. You've learned that control is an illusion. Peace is the true anchor. There was a time when storms sent you running. Now they send you listening. You've discovered that God speaks most clearly in the roar of the winds. He hides messages in the lightning and wisdom in the rain. We are reminded in the book of Job, chapter 37, verse 5, God's voice thunders in marvelous ways. He does great things beyond our understanding. That verse feels alive tonight. You realize that thunder isn't anger, it's announcement. Lightning isn't wrath, it's revelation. What others see as chaos, you recognize as divine choreography. The storm is coming not to punish, but to purify, to strip away what's false, to cleanse the air, to restore clarity. The wind is separating what was built on ego from what was built on endurance. The rain is washing the dust off long-forgotten callings. You can almost sense heaven's rhythm, how even destruction has order, how even disruption carry design. You remember a moment years ago when you stood in an actual storm. The rain fell so hard it blurred everything around you. But then lightning split the sky. And for one brief second, you saw everything clearly. The trees, the path, the horizon. That's what revelation feels like. Sometimes it takes the lightning of crisis to illuminate what comfort kept hidden. So, you no longer resist the storms. You respect them. You understand that no one learns to navigate calm seas without first surviving waves. You've learned to bless the winds that once frightened you, because they taught you to trust the captain. This storm, though global in scale, is deeply personal. It is shaking institutions, beliefs, and relationships. But it's also refining you. You are being invited to stand not as a prophet of doom, but as a vessel of calm, while others react. You remain rooted. Your peace becomes a shelter for those searching for stability. And when people come to you confused, afraid, or angry, you will speak softly, not with certainty, but with faith. You'll say, "Yes, It's shaking, but not everything that shakes will fall. No, because you've seen what happens after every storm: silence, light, and growth. The ground always looks wounded at first, but within days, it begins to bloom again. The storm doesn't erase life, it prepares the soil for new seeds. The same will happen now. The storm will pass, and what's true will remain. What was false will dissolve quietly into history. Those who endured will carry wisdom no book could have taught them, and you, standing in the middle of it all, will remember that this was never about fear. It was always about revelation. Sometimes you'll hear heaven whisper, "Do not interpret shaking as absence. I am in the movement. I am in the wind." You take that to heart, because deep down, you've come to know that peace isn't the absence of storms, it's the presence of faith within them. The world is changing quickly, and yet, you stand unshaken. The lessons you learned in secret now guide you in the open. You have become the calm inside the chaos, the steady rhythm that reminds others that storms, too, serve God's purpose. When this storm passes, and it will, you'll look back, not with exhaustion, but with gratitude. For every gust that tried to knock you down only proved how deeply your roots run. The gathering storm is not the end of the story. It's the chapter where truth reclaims its voice, and faith reclaims its crown. You were never meant to run from the wind. You were meant to command peace within it. Lately, something has been happening around you, small, unexplainable moments that feel like whispers from eternity. Numbers appearing in patterns, clocks aligning, symbols repeating. You catch them in passing on receipts, on license plates, on the edges of your phone screen. They seem random, yet they stir something deep in you, something ancient and familiar. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Heaven is speaking again, not through thunder this time, but through sequence and symbol. It's as if God is weaving mathematics with miracles, reminding you that even the unseen has order. You are walking inside a divine code, and the numbers are simply breadcrumbs on the trail. At first, you dismissed them. You told yourself, "It's just my mind finding patterns." But the timing became too precise, the repetition too deliberate. Every time, doubt began to whisper. The same sequence appeared, like heaven saying, "Yes, it's me. Keep watching." And it's strange how the supernatural can use something as ordinary as numbers to stir faith. Yet it's perfectly consistent with how God speaks. Simple things carrying eternal weight. Stars guided wise men. Ravens fed prophets. And now numbers remind his chosen ones that destiny still moves on schedule. The ancient words in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 22, declare, "He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him." That's what these signs are: light, hidden in the ordinary, messages wrapped in repetition. They are heaven's way of saying, "I see you. I haven't forgotten. You are aligned with my timing." Maybe lately you've been feeling that pull, the sense that something significant is near, but not yet visible. The appearance of numbers is confirmation that heaven's timing is converging with yours. Every repetition is a clock ticking in the spirit. Every alignment is a breath of reassurance. This is why you can no longer dismiss the signs as mere chance. They are not controlling your path, they are affirming it. They appear not to predict your future, but to anchor your present. It's easy to get caught up in analyzing every sequence, trying to decipher its meaning. But the message is simple. God is near. The patterns are not puzzles to solve. They are presence to acknowledge. The goal is not obsession, it's awareness. Think of these numbers as knocks on the door of your spirit. Each appearance says, "Pay attention. I'm doing something right now." They don't ask for fear or frenzy. They invite peace and partnership. Some days, they appear right when you are doubting your progress. Other times, they show up when you are about to make a decision. These moments are not random. They are confirmation checkpoints from heaven, whispering, "Yes, keep going. You're on the right path." The numbers carry rhythm. They move in divine cadence, reminding you that heaven has its own clock, and you're in sync with it. This season, every repetition is a reassurance that the unseen world is not distant, it's interactive. Every sequence is a conversation between eternity and your awareness. But now, the Spirit asks something small, something symbolic, a moment of acknowledgement. If your heart recognizes what's being said, if these words echo what you've been sensing, comment the number 999 below. That number doesn't bind you to superstition. It frees you into recognition. 9 is completion. 3 nines signify divine finality, heaven's way of saying, the old cycle is done, a new chapter begins. And when you write it, you're not summoning magic. You're declaring awareness. You're saying, "I see what you're doing. Lord, I trust your timing. Do law." You might be surprised how even a small act like that carries spiritual resonance. It's less about the number itself and more about the faith behind your motion. Each act of agreement opens doors the intellect cannot. In this, you are not following patterns, you are following presence. Numbers are just the echo, he is the voice. So, the next time a number repeats before your eyes, smile softly. Don't rush to decode it. Receive it. Let it remind you that you are seen, guided, and exactly where you need to be. For even mathematics bows to the rhythm of his will. And every repetition you notice is a gentle reminder that heaven is not silent, it's counting with you. One divine heartbeat at a time. When you type 999, you are not invoking chance, you are acknowledging change. Those 3 digits whisper that something once heavy has reached completion, and a new rhythm of grace is unfolding in your life. It's a quiet declaration. I release the old. I welcome what heaven has prepared next. Comment 999 if this confirmation finds you where you are. There comes a point in every divine story when courage is no longer optional. You have reached that point now. The prophecies have unfolded. The signs have confirmed. The alignment has been revealed, but none of it matters if fear still holds your voice hostage. This is the moment where belief must become bravery. You've known this was coming. Deep down, you've felt the quiet insistence of heaven. Stand up. Step forward. Speak now. The time of silent observation is ending. You were never called to hide behind revelation. You were called to embody it. Prophecy, that is seen but not lived, becomes dormant. It was never meant to decorate your life. It was meant to direct it. Courage doesn't mean you feel no fear. It means you've learned to walk with it without bowing to it. You don't wait for the trembling to stop. You walk while your hands still shake. True faith isn't loud confidence. It's steady movement in the presence of uncertainty. Think of the heroes who came before you. Moses trembling before Pharaoh, Esther standing before a king, David running toward a giant with nothing but a stone. None of them felt ready, they simply responded. Heaven doesn't require perfection, it requires participation. According to the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 7, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Those words weren't given for comfort. They were given as command. Strength is not requested, it is expected. Courage is not the absence of doubt, it is obedience in spite of it. You've walked through seasons of preparation. You've been pruned by patience, purified by waiting. Now the path is clear before you. Though it may still feel uncertain, God never reveals the whole road, only the next step. And courage is that first step into what you cannot yet see. The call to courage is not about grandeur, it's about faithfulness. Sometimes courage is confronting injustice. Sometimes it's forgiving when you'd rather stay angry. Sometimes it's simply choosing to hope again after disappointment. Each act of bravery, no matter how small, becomes a seed that heaven waters. Fear often disguises itself as wisdom. It tells you to wait for the right time. But the truth is, the right time begins when you do. You will never feel completely ready for divine work, because divine work always exceeds human comfort. That's what makes it holy. You were not chosen because you were fearless. You were chosen because you were faithful. Heaven knew your hands would shake and still placed the assignment in them. The trembling is not disqualification, it's evidence that you care deeply about what you carry. Think of a candle flame in the wind. It bends, flickers, and trembles, but it never goes out. That's you. Every gust that tried to extinguish your spirit only taught you how to guard your fire. Courage isn't about never bending, it's about never breaking. As you walk forward, there will be moments when fear whispers again, "What if you fail?" And you'll answer differently this time. You'll say, "Failure is not the opposite of faith, it's part of the process of becoming." You've learned that God values effort, steeped in sincerity, more than success wrapped in pride. Courage is contagious. When you stand, others rise. When you speak truth, others find their voice. You might not even realize how your obedience strengthens those watching silently from a distance. Your courage becomes permission for others to believe again. You will not always feel powerful. Some days, courage will look like simply showing up, but heaven records every act of endurance as victory. The smallest yes spoken in faith echoes louder in eternity than 1,000 shouts of fear. This is not the time to shrink back. The world needs your steadiness, your clarity, your compassion. You have been refined for this hour, not by ease, but by endurance. Every delay was building backbone. Every heartbreak was sharpening discernment. Every wilderness was forging strength. So, step forward, not to prove yourself, but to fulfill yourself. You don't need applause, you need alignment. You don't seek to be admired, you seek to be available. Courage will not make you louder, it will make you truer. It will strip away the need for validation and replace it with quiet conviction. And when you move from that place, even your silence will carry authority. You are stepping into your destiny, not as a performer, but as a pillar. The world doesn't need more noise, It needs examples of still strength, people who stand when everything shakes. You are that person now. Walk forward. Not in haste, but in confidence. The path may be narrow, but it's yours. And the God who called you into it will walk beside you through every shadow until light breaks again. Restoration never looks the way you expect it to. It doesn't arrive with fanfare or flourish. It begins quietly in glances, in apologies, in unexpected messages that reach you long after you've stopped waiting for them. The same people who wounded you may now return, not as enemies, but as seekers of peace. This is the season of mended bridges. The roads once closed are being rebuilt, not through explanation, but through grace. You will see faces from your past reappear, some timid, some tearful, some unsure of how to begin again. And in that moment, you will understand why God asked you to forgive long before they ever apologized. Forgiveness was never about them. It was about freeing you to walk in restoration without bitterness. Had you carried anger into this moment, it would have poisoned the miracle now blooming around you. You chose to let go before you saw the reason, and now that reason stands before you, humbled and changed. The restoration taking shape isn't only relational, it's internal. Parts of your heart that once felt barren are starting to breathe again, where disappointment carved hollows. Hope is beginning to take root. What was broken in you is being restored by the same hands that once allowed it to crack. The writings of Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5, remind us, those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. You planted forgiveness when no one was watching. You poured grace into soil that felt dry and thankless. And now, harvest is coming, not in revenge or triumph, but in peace. The joy that's rising in you doesn't need applause. It simply glows. You'll notice it in small things. First, the ability to smile without bitterness, to speak of old wounds without pain. The sharp edges of memory soften. The places that once made you flinch now make you grateful, because through them, you learn to love without condition, to trust without guarantee, to heal without closure. There's beauty in realizing you no longer need people to understand you in order to forgive them. That realization is freedom. You no longer wait for apologies to feel whole. You already are. And from that wholeness, reconciliation becomes possible, not forced, but natural. Some will come back just to say, "I see it now." Others will simply show up, wordless, hoping your eyes will tell them they're forgiven. And you will meet them with peace, not pride, because the one who has truly healed doesn't need to prove victory, they simply live it. God is restoring not just relationships, but rhythm. The areas of your life that once felt stagnant are beginning to flow again. Doors that stayed closed for years are opening with ease. It's not coincidence, it's compensation. Heaven is repaying what was lost in waiting, not with things, but with time, tenderness, and peace. And as you walk through this restoration, you'll find your capacity for love expanding. You'll notice how gentle your voice has become, how easily you bless what once broke you. That is the proof of true healing, not that you've forgotten the wound, but that it no longer defines you. Restoration isn't always reunion. Sometimes it means blessing people from a distance, wishing them well as you continue on different paths. It means holding peace in your hands even when reconciliation isn't possible. True restoration isn't about returning to what was, it's about rising into what now is. Your story will carry this fragrance of restoration. People will sense it when they're near you, the calm of someone who has seen ruin, but now walks in renewal. You won't have to preach it, you'll embody it. And when you look back, you'll see that every tear was an investment, every loss was a lesson, every lonely season was a seed. Now, they are blooming in ways you never imagined. The same God who allowed breaking has always intended rebuilding, and the pieces that once felt shattered beyond repair are now forming something stronger, something holy, something whole. Restoration has arrived, soft, sacred, and unstoppable. And you will realize that restoration doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. Every scar remains, but now it glows with meaning. What once hurt now teaches. What once broke you now blesses you. You'll wake one morning and notice the weight is gone. The ache has turned into gratitude. You'll breathe deeply and whisper, "This is what healing feels like." And heaven will smile quietly. Because this was the plan all along, to make you whole. Not just again, but forever. The testing of glory always arrives when the noise begins to fade. You have come through the storm, through misunderstanding and isolation. And now you stand at the edge of fulfillment. It's beautiful here, but also dangerous. Because glory, though radiant, is the final test of purity. When God begins to elevate you, it isn't to decorate you, it's to display His nature through you. Many can survive hardship, but few can remain humble in honor. You are being trusted with visibility, and heaven watches closely to see if you will still bow when others start to rise in your name. You've already felt it, the gentle weight of recognition. People who once doubted, now celebrate you. Voices that ignored you, now echo your words. The world has begun to see the evidence of what you carried in silence. But this is the moment when your spirit must whisper, "All glory returns to you, Lord." Now, as written in the second book of Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 7, we have this treasure in jars of clay, to show the power is from God, not from us. That verse humbles you instantly, because you know the truth. You are the jar, not the treasure. The glory shines through you, not from you. Still, it's okay to acknowledge the beauty of what God has done. He has taken what was broken and turned it into a vessel of light. You've become a living testimony. Proof that surrender doesn't end in loss, it ends in radiance. But now, as your voice begins to travel farther, as your light begins to touch more hearts, the question returns, how will you steward what He's given? Remember the lamp analogy. You can't hold fire without fuel. And the fuel of purpose is generosity. The flame that draws others closer also consumes what is selfish within. To keep burning, the lamp must be tended. That's why every small act of support, every moment of shared faith, every whispered prayer matters. When you choose to like, to share, to subscribe, you are not feeding an algorithm, you are adding oil to the flame. Each click, each word, each act of engagement becomes a way of saying, let the light travel farther, because somewhere, in another midnight of someone's life, these very words might be the spark that pulls them back from despair. And when your heart stirs toward deeper giving, toward generosity that transcends convenience, see it not as payment, but as partnership. To donate is to pour oil into the lamp of hope, so it can keep burning in the dark corners of the earth. Every gift is like a small bird. Released, it circles the earth and returns one day, singing with blessing. It's never demanded, only invited. True giving is like rainfall. It arrives when the clouds are full. If you feel that stirring, it's not pressure, it's overflow. Every like becomes a flame's flicker. Every share, a breeze that carries light. Every comment, a ripple that touches unseen hearts. Every donation, a drop of oil, ensuring the fire never fades. Even a simple comment can become sacred. When you write your reflection below, you're not filling space, you're leaving a footprint of faith. Someone may scroll past and see your words at their lowest moment and think, maybe I'm not alone. Untring, that is what community in the spirit looks like. Unseen hearts, connected through unseen hands, keeping a divine flame alive together. So as this message touches you, don't respond out of obligation. Respond from revelation. If your heart feels drawn, let your gesture, whether a share, a comment, or a gift, be an act of worship, not transaction. Because generosity is not measured by the amount, but by the love that shapes it. The smallest spark can light a forest. The softest whisper can shift an atmosphere. And even if you give nothing but your attention, know that it is enough. Presence is a gift. 2. You are part of the flame simply by being here, still. If you've ever wondered, how can I help this light reach more hearts? The answer is simple. Keep the oil flowing, like the widow in Zarephath, who offered her last drop of oil and found her jar never empty again. Those who give in faith never run dry. Heaven multiplies what's poured out in sincerity. The more light travels, the more lives awaken, the more hearts are reached, the more hope takes root. You become not just a listener, but a keeper of light. So as you finish this message, pause. Let gratitude fill you. Whisper a quiet thank you to God for choosing you, and to yourself for staying faithful through the tests. And when you act, whether by sharing, commenting, or giving, let it feel like placing one more log on a fire that warms the world. Because light, once shared, never belongs to one person. It belongs to everyone who helps it shine. Silence has a sound of its own. It's not emptiness, it's resonance. After the storms, the revelations, and the rebuilding, you now find yourself in a quiet season where the world feels slower, the air gentler. You've stepped beyond striving and into stillness. And here, in this silence, you begin to hear what you once missed, the rhythm of grace. This is not a pause of punishment, it's a pause of preparation. Heaven often lowers the volume around you before it speaks something new within you. The world will interpret your stillness as delay, but you've learned it's actually alignment. You're no longer rushing to be seen, you're resting to be strengthened. The beauty of this stage is subtle. You wake without anxiety, pray without desperation, and listen without agenda. You're beginning to trust that even in quiet seasons, heaven is still active. Seeds grow silently beneath soil before anyone ever sees the bloom. So too, your promises are maturing beneath the surface. As it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 15, in repentance and rest is your salvation, in quietness and trust is your strength. Those words now define your walk. Strength is no longer loud. Power no longer looks like motion. You've entered the deep peace of those who have nothing left to prove. You've discovered that when you stop forcing outcomes, blessings begin to flow naturally. It's strange, isn't it? The same silence that once frightened you now feels sacred. You used to mistake stillness for stagnation, but now you recognize it as sacred space, the place where your soul exhales. What once felt like absence now feels like invitation. The Spirit is teaching you to live slowly, to see holiness in ordinary things, a sunrise, a stranger's kindness, a quiet conversation. All of it feels like worship. You're realizing that intimacy with God doesn't always happen in the fire or the flood. Sometimes it's found in the calm that follows. This silence has depth. It's not void, it's fertile. You can sense something forming within you. New ideas, new compassion, new peace. You've grown comfortable with not having all the answers, because you've met the answer himself. There is wisdom in waiting, not the kind that wastes time, but the kind that renews it. You've learned that God is never late, He's exact, and what He's preparing now is too delicate to be rushed. The delay is protection. The slowness is precision. The silence also serves another purpose. It separates the echo from the voice. In noise, you couldn't tell which thoughts were yours and which were divine. Now, clarity returns. You recognize when heaven speaks, because peace follows immediately. The confusion that used to chase you no longer finds you here. This quiet season is shaping your authority. The strength you're gaining now won't announce itself with volume. It will show itself in stability. When others panic, you'll remain calm. When others doubt, you'll discern. That's what this stillness is doing. It's turning revelation into reflex. You may not realize it yet, but this peace you're learning to carry will become a refuge for others. People will feel safer around you without knowing why. Your calm will disarm chaos. Your silence will speak comfort louder than words ever could. Even creation reflects this rhythm. The ocean rests between tides. The moon pauses before it waxes again. Every living thing honors the pattern of rise, rest, and renewal. And now, Sudu, there's no rush here. You are exactly where you need to be. The silence is not a void, it's a voice, a soft, steady hum of heaven saying, I am here. And let this season teach you the art of gentle strength. You've mastered endurance in storms, now you're mastering serenity and peace. Both are parts of power. And when the next movement begins, and it will, you will rise not out of exhaustion, but out of restoration. Your steps will be deliberate, your words weighty, your presence peaceful. For now, rest, listen. Let silence sing to you the truth that striving never could. You are already enough, already chosen, already home. And in that stillness, you'll realize that peace was never a destination, it was a person. Every quiet breath carries His nearness. Every pause hums with His presence. You were never waiting for things to move. You were learning how to move with Him. The silence will not stay forever, but its lessons will. You'll carry this calm into chaos, this rhythm into noise, this clarity into crowds. Wherever you go, peace will follow, because the still ones always speak loudest without saying a word. And now, it all comes full circle. The storm has passed. The prophecies have unfolded, and the silence has done its work. You stand in the aftermath, not among ruins, but among renewal. What once felt like endings now gleams as beginnings in disguise. You can feel it in your bones. The long night has broken, and dawn has arrived. It's strange how familiar the light feels. You recognize it not as something new, but as something ancient, something you carried all along. You realize now that the journey was never about reaching the light. It was about remembering you were part of it. The world around you still trembles, but your spirit doesn't. You've learned that peace is not the absence of shaking, but the presence of unshakable faith. You no longer ask, "When will things calm down?" because you've discovered how to stay calm within them. The winds still blow, but they bow to your composure. There's a new kind of authority resting on you, quiet, unwavering, pure. It's the authority that comes not from title or influence, but from endurance. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. You've crossed rivers and didn't drown. That survival has become your anointing. The world doesn't just see light when it looks at you. It sees proof that God finishes what he starts. The book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. Declares, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." And those words land differently now. They aren't a promise to wait for. They're a reality you're standing in. You are the completed work in progress, the living evidence that divine timing never fails. Look at the path behind you. The terrain that once seemed impossible now reads like a love letter from heaven. Every valley was instruction. Every delay was design. Every silence was shaping. You no longer resent what took time, you revere it. Waiting didn't withhold your destiny, it prepared your hands to hold it without trembling. You start to see the hidden symmetry of everything, the pain and peace, the chaos and calm. The questions and answers, they all belonged to one continuous conversation between you and God. Nothing was wasted, not even the tears. The same soil that absorbed them now blossoms with purpose. You move differently now, slower, softer, but sûre. You speak less, but when you do, your words carry weight. You no longer need to convince. Your presence alone communicates truth. That's what happens when refinement becomes revelation. You glow quietly. And though you stand taller, you stand humbler. The victories don't inflate you, they ground you. You've learned that glory without gratitude is hollow, so you live in constant thanks, not the loud, public kind, but the kind that breathes from every step, every sigh, every heartbeat. Around you, the world still spins in confusion, yet you've become a still point within it. You've become what you once prayed for, stability in a world that shifts, clarity in a time that clouds. Your peace has matured into presence, and your presence has become a refuge for others. The story isn't ending, it's evolving. Prophecy doesn't stop when fulfilled, it transforms into legacy. What you once heard, you now embody. What you once believed, you now become. Others will look at your life and read it like scripture, evidence of faith in motion. You no longer chase signs, you are one. You no longer wait for miracles, you live as proof of them. The same hands that once trembled in fear now create in faith. The same eyes that once searched for direction now see destiny clearly. And in the still glow of this new morning, you finally understand this was never about arrival. It was always about becoming. You were never just a witness to prophecy, you were its fulfillment in human form. The path ahead is open. The horizon stretches wide, gilded with promise. You walk forward without hurry, without hesitation, knowing that whatever awaits has already been written, and this time you no longer fear the unfolding, because now you trust it. And as you walk into what's next, you no longer carry the urgency to prove anything. You simply carry light, quiet, confident, enduring light. The kind that doesn't flicker when the wind rises. The journey has changed you too deeply to ever return to what was. You've become the bridge between what heaven promised and what the world will now see. So walk gently. Chosen one. Every step you take now writes revelation into the earth. You are not waiting for prophecy anymore. You are living it. And here you are, standing at the edge of completion. What began as whispers of prophecy has become reality, unfolding before your very eyes. You've walked through revelation, refinement, and restoration. And somehow through every twist you've emerged, softer, stronger, clearer. This isn't the end of your story. It's the awakening of a new chapter written with your own light. Now, the message continues not just through these words, but through you, the way you live, the way you love, the way you speak peace into chaos. That's how the story expands. And if these words have touched something deep in you, if they've stirred a quiet remembrance of who you are and what you carry, then let that connection breathe. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not performing an action, you're passing a torch. Each small act sends the light farther, reaching hearts you may never meet, in places you might never see. Every time you share this message, it's like releasing a lantern into the night sky, each one carrying a silent prayer of hope for someone you may never meet. You never know whose darkness that small light will pierce, or whose heart it will gently awaken. And when you leave a comment below, you know that you're not just responding, you're planting a seed. Your words might become the echo that reaches someone standing right where you once stood. They might read your reflection and find the courage to rise again. If you ever feel led to go beyond that, to give yourself, to support, see it as pouring oil into a lamp that never stops burning. Every offering, no matter how small, becomes part of the eternal circulation of light. You're not funding words, you're fueling hope. So take this moment gently. Carry it with gratitude. Let the flame you've rekindled tonight find its next home in someone else's darkness. Because every act of love, every gesture of faith, every gift from the heart keeps the message alive, turning endings into eternal beginnings.